Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. We are in for a treat today, and I am so excited to introduce you to my guest, Shannon Hernandez. So many things I can say about this human. So, she started the Joyful Business Revolution. She is a human-centered leader. She's a speaker. She's an author. She's a self-proclaimed chef, a world traveler. She has hiked 100 miles in the Camino de Santiago, which is a journey, to say the least. And one of my favorite things that she's a Facebook Marketplace maven because she sold like $12,000 worth of stuff on there just in the last month. And she is a joy advocate. Today, she's our guest. Welcome, Shannon.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here.
Well, and when I need a fellow joy advocate, I'm all in, right? Like that pushes me straight over the edge. And I would love for you to convince our listeners to keep listening by telling them why a joy advocate is somebody they want to hear.
Oh my gosh, do not hang up the phone. Do not push pause. You need more joy in your life. I don't even care if you already have the maximum amount of joy that you think you have. There is room for more. Joy has no ceiling.
Oh, and you're so right. And why do you think that we put a ceiling on that? Because you're right. I mean, there is no limit to the amount of joy that we can have, but so many of us put this box around it. Why do you think people do that?
Well, I wish I was a mind reader.
I know. Well, that'd be a good
But I'm
treat,
not.
just period. None of us are.
If I had an answer to this question, I wouldn't have written the book Practical Joy.
Yeah.
But I kept getting people coming to me say, how do you have so much joy? How do I have that joy? How do I get that joy? What is joy? How is joy different from happiness? And finally, I was like, okay, the only books on the market are about finding joy through meditation, which that shit does not work for me. But it's not joyful. You know, going on some big spiritual journey to find your joy. All of these things could access your joy, but at the end of the day, joy is an inside job. And I don't know why people think they have to have a ceiling on the joy. It's like many of us will cap out our dreams, we'll cap out our finances, right? Like we put these invisible limits on things, and I'm not sure why people do it, but I wish they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, and so you're kind of on this journey to help people stop doing it. And you have written this practical, no pun intended, book on joy. And it's clear that you do just exude this. Did you learn that somewhere? Did somebody teach you that joy was not only a choice, but something that had no limits?
Oh, no, I grew up in a very unjoyful.
Got it. Well, okay. So circumstances taught you then.
Yes.
Real quick
Okay,
in a
good.
hurry.
And here's what I mean. I wasn't abused. I'm not talking about those things. I am talking about my father is always, the glass is always empty. It's not even half full. He's like, the glass is empty all the time. It's just empty, right? And that affects you growing up because everything you hear, it's like, oh, don't get too excited. That might go away. I mean, those were things that I heard, right? My saving grace was my mother, who's a lot like me. And we would just like, live in some dream world where there was lots of joy. And to this day, my father finally, he was born in 55. So however old that makes him, he finally will say to me, this is bringing me joy, or is this not bringing me joy? Because for years I have asked him that question.
Yeah.
Right. And so through the child rearing, I guess, or being raised, I learned that joy wasn't even accessible. Like joy wasn't even a thing that was talked about in our house, right? And so now he has a daughter that goes around speaking about joy.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, so he can't escape it. And I often, I'm the one in the family who shows up, and in terrible times, I'm not saying like we don't have terrible times. We do have terrible times, but I always know that we can find joy if we allow ourselves to, and terrible things don't have to define like every moment of the day. And that's hard. That's a really hard thing for people that are burdened and can't see the joy amongst the grief, so to speak.
Well, and you just said something really powerful that the terrible things still happen, but they don't have to define you. And I do know in my experience, I have allowed some things to define me that I shouldn't have. And then I have chosen to let things define me that I should. And so as our friends are listening and are trying to figure out how to create more productive joy, what advice would you give them to shift the thinking? Because you were not taught this as a child. You were actually taught the exact opposite, but you recognized you wanted more. You wanted this positivity and not the toxic kind, right? Like the kind that you are seeking, because even though the terrible things are there, that's not where you're going to dwell. So how might the leaders listening figure that out? I mean, obviously practical joy is it's the place to start, but what advice would you give them?
Well, I mean, there's so much I could say here, right? But I think we should just start with how joy is different than happiness, because this fundamentally is where so many people get all wrapped up in this. And one of the things I could not find in all of my research when I went to write this book was a really good definition of joy versus happiness. So I wrote my own definition. Happiness happens because of things on the outside. We get the promotion, we get married, we have a baby, we move to Spain, whatever. Happiness, right? It's fleeting. The problem with that, right, is that especially in this society we live in, we are taught to chase happiness. And so therefore we're never happy.
Right.
Because once you get the promotion, oh, what's next? Once you get the raise, oh, what's next? Oh, I had a baby, what's next? They need a sister. You're always like in the what's next mode, right?
Yeah.
That is like the biggest stealer of joy right there.
Yeah.
All right. So happiness is external. Joy, I say, is an inside job. And joy comes from knowing your highest values and living in them every single day. And this was something else I could not find in my research, is nobody could really talk about how do you access this never ending amount of joy. And so one of the very first things I have people do is do a values inventory. What is important to you right now in your life? Right? And that's going to change. When you're a mom raising kids, your values and your priorities are very different than when you weren't a mom yet or when they leave the nest. Right? But I think a lot of people get stuck in, oh, that's how I've always been, or that's how it was. And that's why they're not in touch with their values. So I actually do a values inventory every quarter.
Oh, nice.
Right. And it's like in my book, I talk about creating your values hierarchy and what is most important to you right now. And we put themes around these values, and I call them lifestyle values, and we order them. And so my values, just in this season of my life, right? Number one is health and wellness. And that includes spiritual wellness, physical wellness, all the wellness forms. Okay. Number two is travel and adventure. Number three is making money, growing my business. That's a value.
Yeah.
Right. So those are my top three, so to speak. So what happens now, once you know these, is you get to filter every decision through your values. And it really helps because it reduces decision fatigue, but it also keeps you in your joy. And you also really don't have to explain yourself. You just have to know, oh, that's not in my values. I'm going to say no to that and keep it moving. It's not personal to anyone, which was really helpful for me because I was also raised as a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Right. So now I can say, oh, I'm sorry, that doesn't fit with what I'm doing and what my values are right now. And then I can just move on.
That's a complete sentence. You do not have to explain yourself. What a beautiful, okay. You just dropped a bunch of nuggets of gold. I think my favorite at this exact moment is the joy versus happiness inside outside, right? Like external, fleeting, gonna go away, can't hold on to it. Untapped, unstoppable, wonderful experience. And I want to use that you just described in your definition of joy to ask you my favorite question. Because this podcast is called Productive Joy. And I heard you on another podcast and immediately reached out on LinkedIn and was like, okay, if ever there was a crossover, this is it. Would you be interested? And you said yes. But when you are here, Productive Joy, if you had to define that, you've already defined joy beautifully, but what would you shift or change? Maybe nothing if you added the word productive in front of it. What is productive joy to you?
Oh my God. I feel like this is setting me up.
No, there are no wrong answers. That's the beauty of it.
Okay. I'm going to be honest. Okay. She's true. She is a true story. She heard me somewhere, reached out on LinkedIn, and here we are. I haven't done much research, honestly, outside of this. I'm getting ready to move to Spain. All right. So my plate's been full. But what the first thing when I saw productive joy, I was like, wow, now we have to make joy productive.
It's not like a task. Okay, I hear you.
And I was like, oh no. But anyway, that was my first thought. And then I got thinking about it a little more, and I'm like, well, maybe it's like intentional joy. Like how to create joy that is also productive with the things you want to be doing. Those are my two thoughts. Those are the two thoughts I have.
I love both of those thoughts. And here's the beauty of it. I have asked this question I've had 226 episodes to date, and I've never gotten exactly the same answer. So that's part of, what I want to research. But the reason that this podcast is called Productive Joy is because my tagline has always been, if we don't make work fun, people quit. Because people quit things that aren't fun, right? So for me, ChatGPT and I came up with Productive Joy because I didn't want this podcast to just be about work. I wanted it to be about life, but I also wanted there to be some connection between that fun and action, right? Like, so if I am enjoying what I'm doing, then it doesn't feel like work and I'll continue to do it. So that's the first part. The second part, you used the word intentional. Our company is called Intentionality Group. And it is all about, I know, right? Small world makes sense. But Intentionality Group's purpose is to recognize that when we are intentional about all the things that we do, particularly with the humans, then the humans stick around, right? Because if you are a human-centered, human first, and I know you say you're a human-centered leader, when you put the humans above the stuff, the widget, the thing that you're trying to create, then the humans will feel valued and appreciated and will stick around, right? And so what you just said, Shannon, was such a beautiful connection between, joy is just joy. But when you make it productive, it allows you to bring results. The fact that you're bubbling over with this thing that other people seek. And so your definition was perfect. I loved it. I knew it would be dead on. And how fun and to steal Dax Shepard's word sim is it that we're that close with all the things that we said.
Well, I'm glad because you made me sweat.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That was not my intention at all. No way.
Okay.
No.
It's okay. I'm not sweating anymore, so it's good.
Oh, good.
I think it's a beautiful question. And now I'm going to go listen to all the freaking episodes because I want to know what everyone else.
So if you want to go to last year's Christmas episode, it will give you a recap of the whole first year's worth of definitions.
Oh,
and went
okay.
through them. So there you can do one and done. You don't have to listen to all of them, although I'd love for you to. But my hope in having you here is that, as a fellow joy creator, as somebody who recognizes the value of choosing to see the good, right, and that internal job, I think it's important that all of our leaders find that ability to create that joy. And so you've written this book that people can grab and use. If someone were to find you, what else can you do for them to help them find the joy that they are maybe avoiding / ignoring / missing?
Yeah. Okay. Well, on the business side of things, my company is called Joyful Business Revolution, and we exist to make business fun. Like that bit. We want you to have a lot of fun and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And fun. And not exploiting people and being good to people and all those things. I'm a messaging and email marketing strategist. So I have really changed the industry in terms of getting rid of all that pain point messaging and really tapping into the possibilities. I call it possibilities messaging. That's really important to me. And that's really why people come to me now for messaging and marketing work, is because they realize they don't need to beat people up with more pain. You can actually message things very kindly and clearly and get the job done the same way, right? So there's that. If you wanted to hop into my world of practical joy, you can visit practicaljoybook.com. And I have a scavenger hunt, which is really fun. And I've built this scavenger hunt so that as you read the book, you can collect the clues as you go on the scavenger hunt, because fun way for people to interact with the book. And so that's another way that people come to me. And I'm working right now with a speaking coach, Dr.Christie, around joy. And I was going to do joy in the workplace, but then I knew that that wasn't my passion. That's not my passion. And so we're really working on a speech to put some more bones around the acronym joy that fit with really how I like to show up. And so speaking around joy, speaking around adding more joy into your life, your daily, everyday life, and how that makes you a better person, a better parent, a better employee, a better boss. Because man, the world is different if we just have joy.
It is. Well, it makes you magnetic in the best possible way, right? The statement I get almost every time I speak is, "Wow, your energy." Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
what I'm choosing to put out there, right? Like, it's not that, and for me, it is not, this is who you get at 5 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock at night. Now, talk to me at 10 o'clock, I'm probably asleep. But ultimately, this is who I am. This is how I show up no matter what. And I can tell that is 100% true of you too. And I think that's what joy does, is it allows for people to show up as their 100% authentic, this is who I am, and exude that into others, because we need exactly what you have, right? Because you're the only one that can give it. And the same is true for me and absolutely everybody that's listening. But I think we spend much of our time trying to fit in somebody else's box and say, this is who I'm supposed to be because the internet says I should, or because, this person says I should, or my boss says I should. And the reality is that squashes our unique genius, right? So, do you have any magic formula, pixie dust, something that you can sprinkle over people to get them to shift? I know you said focus on the values, right? Know what those values are, visit them often. But is there something that everybody listening right now could do right now that would shift them from maybe the wallowing that they're doing in the moment to an ending joy?
Yeah. Well, this is the other part I think of practical joy is just remembering that joy is a practice, just like our yoga practice, the meditation practice, training for a marathon, whatever it is, right? And so one of the things I always like to say is, have you practiced your joy today? Right? For me, that I've set up like very intentional practicing joy points throughout my day. So first, it's coffee looking out my window. That is the very first thing of practical joy in my life is morning coffee, looking out my window, not scrolling, not reading news, not doing any of that.
Yeah, because that'll
Looking out
take
it.
joy real quick and in a hurry.
Absolutely. The second thing, now that I get to work, been working for myself for many, many years, hot breakfast on a plate, sitting at a table.
Oh, nice. You mean you're
See,
not
it's
grabbing a
very
granola bar in the
practical.
car?
No granola bars, no food packaged as breakfast that is just shitty and not good for you. No checking email and like trying to run meetings and eat on the fly in the background. No, not joyful.
No, it's not.
So that's not joyful.
Right, right.
So it's like knowing what those practicing joy points look like for you and honoring them. Because that's why I call it a joy practice, right? Because if you don't honor your joy, you won't ever have it.
Yeah, yeah.
Life gets busy. It's like if I didn't put my workout 4 days a week in my calendar, I wouldn't do it. That's how I'm wired. If it's in my calendar, it gets done, right? So knowing what's really important to you, but also calendaring it, scheduling it, pausing for it, whatever's going to work for you, and really taking time to practice your joy each day.
I love that. All right. Well, you mentioned something that I have to go down this rabbit hole for a minute. You said your 4-day-a-week workout regime, but you were training to climb Mount Everest. Like you had planned to do that in February. Some plans changed because you're moving to Spain, which is so exciting. But what is involved in training for something like that? Like what are some of the things that you did to train?
Okay. So it was Mount Kilimanjaro.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that.
That's okay.
Did I write it? See, I wrote everything else down. I didn't write that down.
It's okay. Mount Kilimanjaro. So, oh gosh. Well, first of all, it's 6 days up because you have to get acclimated. Your lungs have to get acclimated to the lack of oxygen in the air. And then it's 1 day down. So people often say, like in training, I was learning, people are often concerned about going up, and it is a concern. Right. And they are going to check you every day, multiple times a day to make sure that that you have enough oxygen. But the real challenge, if you get up, is actually coming down in 1 day, because you can imagine it's just downhill on your knees. Like, that's crazy.
Oh,
So I was spending a lot of time doing incline work. In the summer, I was practicing holding my breath underwater at a pool, walking with weights in a backpack or something in a backpack,
yeah.
and learning how to use hiking poles for the way down, because that's what takes like 50% of the pressure off your knees. So come to find out, like, these things that you don't know, right?
So how do you practice that? Because I can't imagine you could do that on a treadmill in an incline, but how do you,
Oh, I'd go hiking out in the woods.
oh, so you're actually out in the, that's
Absolutely.
yeah. It is so flat here that there are no hills. Like there's nowhere I could practice that, but I'm guessing in New Jersey there are a couple.
There are a couple hills if you drive that way.
I got it. There.
So that was the thing. And then mainly, believe it or this is going to sound so funny. One of the things we learned in our calls was you should be doing 100 squats a day. And I'm like, that's interesting. But it's because you squat the whole time to pee or go to the bathroom. And so they're like, you're going to think us when you're out there squatting multiple times, going to the bathroom, that your legs aren't shaking.
Oh my gosh, I would not have thought of that either, but how smart. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they do this for a living, so they know how to tell you to do the things. Well, okay, that was a totally tangential question, but thank you for entertaining me because that was fascinating.
Yeah.
And Shannon, you have been just such a delight, and I could talk to you all day, but I am also sure that people wouldn't listen all day. So would you be okay if I asked you some rapid fire questions?
Oh, yes. I'm going to sweat again. Go.
Okay, don't sweat because there are no wrong answers. You're the only one that has the right answer. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your definition of fun?
Nature.
Ooh, nature. I like it. Okay. How do you know that you are showing up as your authentic self?
I'm laughing.
I love a good belly laugh. And I realize that I have a very obnoxious laugh. Like I inherited it from my mother. It's loud and I can't stop it. So I'll hear it sometimes like on a recording and I'm like, oh gosh, that's me. Oops.
It might make other people laugh. Some people have laughs that make other people laugh.
That's true. That's true. Have you ever seen the show where they just laugh? Like they brought together all of the people who had obnoxious laughs and then they make them laugh and it becomes like this cacophony of ridiculousness. It's worth Googling. Google that. Okay. So how do you channel your best self on your worst days?
Oh, I get really quiet and I go practice some moment of joy from my joy bank of ideas.
I love that. Okay, last question. Tough question. People by nature, after a 30-minute interview, will really only remember one major idea. And so, of all of the brilliant things that you've said, what's the one major idea that you want to leave people with today?
Joy is an inside job.
Yeah, you told me that at the beginning and you were dead on right. I would completely agree. Well, listeners, thank you for being here because you just got a masterclass in all things joy. And if you're listening to this podcast, then I'm going to guess that that's something that you wanted. So congratulations, you got it. Shannon, you were such a gift and absolutely exactly what we needed today. So thank you for choosing to share your joy on Productive Joy.
Thank you for having me.
And listeners, whether you walk away with recognizing that joy is something that you can intentionally do, that it is an inside job, or that terrible things don't have to define you, you actually get to choose what defines you. Whatever you're going to walk away with today, I need you to use it, take it, let it change practice so that you can figure out a way to turn fun into action. Hey.